Something specific was missing, and once I noticed it, I couldn't unsee it. Most people think language learning is mainly about study material. Which app should I use? Which method is best? Which resource will finally make it click? And to be clear, study material does matter. You need something that tells you what to do, something concrete, something you can actually sit down and use. Without that, nothing starts. But here's the problem. Knowing what to do doesn't mean you'll keep doing it. For a long time, I didn't realize what was actually going wrong. I could never remember much of what I'd been studying in English class, aside from the very early lessons. It was the same with my French. Once the novelty wore off, I lost motivation, and I only continued because I had to. Looking back, it's no surprise that I didn't learn that much from my French classes. Yet somehow, I'd reached a very high level in English, a language that wasn't really taught that differently. Granted, I had more time, but I don't think that alone would have been enough to save my French. The real difference was that I was doing a lot of other things in English. I had hobbies. I spent time playing around with language in ways I actually enjoyed. That made it enjoyable enough that I would actively look for time to do it. When study material alone doesn't work, the next thing people usually try is accountability. Streaks, challenges, daily goals, public promises, and accountability. It does help, at least at first. It creates momentum, it gets you to show up when you otherwise wouldn't. But if you've ever had a streak break and then thought, well, I've already failed, you already know where this starts to go wrong. Accountability that's built on pressure works until life interrupts it. And when that pressure snaps, most systems quietly collapse. Most people only ever have one or two of these pillars in place. Some have great study material, but no accountability, so they drift. Some have accountability, but no sustainability, so they burn out. Others try to be sustainable, but without structure, so nothing really moves forward. Progress doesn't come from intensity, it comes from systems that don't fight your life. I'll be showing you how that looks in the context of my own life on this channel. If you ever want to talk through what might work for you, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. Now, the first pillar to a successful study program is study material, but not just any study material. It needs to be clear, finite, and easy to start. Something that removes decision fatigue instead of adding to it. When I use something like Pokemon TV as language input, it works not because it's clever, but because it's light. It fits between study sessions, it fits between the rest of my life, and most of the time, it doesn't even feel like study. That matters more than people realize. Good study material lowers friction. Bad study material creates resistance. And even good material stops working if it exists in isolation. The second pillar is accountability, but not the stressful kind, the quiet kind, the kind that pulls you back in without yelling at you. This can look like daily episodes being released automatically, small daily limits that don't overwhelm you, or clear expectations that don't punish you for missing a day. When accountability is built into the environment, you don't have to rely on motivation as much. You just return. This is where community starts to matter. Not competition and not pressure, but visibility. Being around other people who are also showing up imperfectly makes consistency feel normal instead of heroic. That's the role my school community is meant to fulfill. A place to check in, to stay visible, and remind yourself that progress doesn't require intensity. If you want to join, it's completely free, and you'll find it linked in the description. The third pillar is instead of a failure, and it doesn't let missed days turn into an identity crisis. This was the piece I was missing for a long time. When I burned out using Anki in the past, it wasn't because Anki was bad, it was because I overloaded it. I added too much, tried to be too optimal instead of being realistic, and I turned it into a chore. Once I reduced the load, it became usable again. That single adjustment completely changed how I related to the tool. This is also why I built the Fluent Habits workbook, not as a massive course and not as something that demands hours of focus, but as 30 days of small, simple defaults. The goal isn't intensity, it's having something that still works when your energy is low. If you want to pick up the newest version, find it linked in the description. I'm also working on an app for that.